Yeah, the senator from New Jersey. The question is from Senator Menendez to the House managers. President Trump has maintained that he withheld U.S. security assistance to Ukraine because he was concerned about corruption. Yet his purported concern about corruption did not prevent his administration from sending congressionally appropriated assistance to Ukraine more than 45 times between January 2017 and June 2019, totaling more than $1.5 billion. So why did the President suddenly become concerned about corruption in early 2019?
Mr. Chief Justice, Senator, thank you for the question. He became concerned about corruption, supposedly, in early 2019 because Vice President Biden was running for election for the presidency. That is what the overwhelming amount of the evidence shows, because there's no other legitimate reason, as your question points out. First, the publicly released records of President Trump's April 21 and 25 calls with President Zelensky never mentioned the word corruption, despite the fact that the talking points for these calls prepared by his own staff listed corruption. Second, in May 2019, the State and Defense Department certified to Congress Ukraine had, quote, taken substantial actions for the purposes of decreasing corruption, end quote, and met the anti-corruption benchmarks this very body has established when it appropriated $250 million of those funds. Third, by the time of the July 25th call, President Zelensky had already established his anti-corruption bona fides, having introduced a number of reform bills in Ukraine. Fourth, on July 26th, the day after his call with President Zelensky, President Trump spoke to Ambassador Sondland, who was in Ukraine. The one question the President asked Ambassador Sondland was not about corruption, but about whether or not President Zelensky was going to do the investigations. Fifth, the released aid, as your question points out, Senator, the President released the aid in 2017 and in 2018. And he released it in 2019 only after having gotten caught. In the words of Lieutenant Colonel Vindman and other witnesses, the conditions on the ground had not changed. So, we're hearing a lot tonight about the concerns about corruption, Burisma, Russia. But the facts still matter here. We are here for one reason and one reason only. The President of the United States withheld foreign aid that he was happy to give in the 2 prior years, that suddenly we are to believe something changed, the conditions on the ground changed, and he had an epiphany about corruption within a week of Vice President Biden announcing his candidacy. It doesn't make any sense. And one other thing I will say with regard to the aid is this assertion that President Trump has been the strongest supporter of Ukraine. And I talked about this earlier. Let's just assume that to be the case. And if it is the case, as the President's counsel has contended over and over again, then there is, of course, no reason to withhold the aid because nothing has changed. This leads us inevitably only to one conclusion, and that is that the President of the United States used taxpayer dollars, the American people's money, to withhold aid from an ally at war to benefit his political campaign. Do not be distracted by Russian propaganda, by conspiracy theories, by people asking you to look in other directions. That is what this is about. That will not change. The facts will continue to come out, whether this body subpoenas them or not. The facts will come out. The question now is, will they come out in time? And will you be the ones asking for them when you are going to be making the decision in a couple of days to sit in judgment?